to commence with We're going to commence with the webinar momentarily. We're monitoring the registration, and if you will please give us another few minutes, we will soon start. Okay, I think we will go ahead now. This webinar, Career Clarity, Engaging New Dialogue, is being brought to you by TAM's Professional Training and Career Development Committee. The housekeeping rules are attendees are muted without video, and the questions are via Q&A, and you can put your comments in chat. They will both be monitored. This session will also be recorded. I would like to introduce as one of our speakers, Nancy Madoff, who, after close to 3 decades of walking the talk in corporate sales leadership, Nancy Madoff, best-selling author, keynote speaker, and executive coach, has literally written the book on women and confidence. Unmute yourself and speak up to stand out is a game changer and a call to action for women and men who are ready to get their seat at the table. Then build a bigger table. One of Thrive Global's power women, and recently featured in her hometown's Boston Magazine as Bay State's executive coach, the confidence evangelist is a straight shooter, whether on stage or on her own, one working with women to raise their game at every stage of their career. Some find their unicorn job, negotiate a higher salary, or leapfrog up the corporate ladder. Others successfully change careers, dive in to their next chapter, or simply level up their own leadership style. From CEO to recent college graduate, the women who work with Nancy all have one thing in common. They have gained the confidence needed to truly thrive. Nancy is an indoor cycle enthusiast, 2-time marathoner, and feet in the sand philosopher who won't stop until women everywhere step into their strength, radiate confidence, and walk through the doors being opened like they own them. When not traveling the globe, you will find Nancy enjoying the food and beverage scene in her hometown of Boston or beachside on Outer Cape Cod, likely diving into the latest summer's bestseller. I would now like to introduce Mark Stevens, who will tell you about the other speaker.
Unmute yourself, Mark. You need to unmute yourself.
There it is. Sorry about that. So Lenoire Melzeri is a podcaster, a speaker, a facilitator, a certified social and emotional intelligence, PQ, and executive coach. So Lenoire prides herself on guiding her clients to becoming the best versions of themselves. Currently, she's at Amex GBT, serving as a senior manager of business development. And she also hosts 2 podcasts. One is The Weekly Pause. The other one is Journeys of Reinvention. So with that being said, we'll turn the speaker back to the ladies, Nancy and Lenoire.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Nancy.
Lenoire, how long has it been?
Oh my God, and here we are again. No matter where we go.
I remember I was in my basement and we were all trying to figure out what in the world was going on. Remember? That was a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. And gosh, we go back to, where were we? Frankfurt, I think was our first.
IMAX. Yeah, IMAX.
Yeah, the first time we spoke together. So Nancy
Yeah.
and I go back a really long time, and we really
Yeah.
appreciate everyone for joining. And we hope that you find our conversation helpful. You know, Nancy, to start, maybe we could go ahead and do a little poll. We'll have 3 polls during this webinar. So if you participate, it would be really helpful, not only to help you identify what your needs are, but also to help maybe us be able to understand what your needs and wants are as we move forward with TAMS and understanding how you want to learn and what it is that you need to learn. So if we could go ahead and start with that poll very quickly, the first poll. Are you happy or fulfilled at work? Yes, no, or I didn't even know that was a choice. We'll give you a quick moment.
So while they're doing that, Lenoir, I love that last, I can't remember who put that in there, but I didn't even know that was a choice. I think it's important to talk about being fulfilled at work. I actually just this morning started seeing a lot of, the latest buzz topic is that companies are going to start slowly forcing people to come back to work. So to come back to work, I'm sorry, in the office. So I know in the hospitality industry, we never left the office, obviously, we couldn't, but I think it's interesting because when you talk about being happy and fulfilled at work, it's about, for me, it's about boundaries or priorities and making sure that what you're doing is aligned with the life that you want to have. And I like I said, I just read this morning 2 articles which said companies are going to give it a few more months, and then they're going to start turning up the hot water. That was the analogy of the frog in the boiling pot, so that they're almost forcing their employees to come back. So I think it's very timely to talk about being happy and fulfilled at work.
Yeah, and I think also that there's a little bit of a difference between happy and fulfilled. So you can be happy at work, like you're happy you're working from home, you're happy that you have your nice boss, you're happy that you have a great team that you're helping to grow. And then being fulfilled is, are you being given the tools that you need in order to be your best self in your workplace, right? Are you able to fulfill your own goals, your own professional goals? And do you have those choices? So I think that there's a little bit of a differentiator there as well. Would you agree?
Yes, I would. And we actually just got a comment in the chat about somebody wants to hear a little bit more about what some of those tools are, which is right in line with what I was just going to say. So I think it's really important to remember, so many of us are so glad to be working, for those of us that are working. And I would do a poll as to how many people are actually working, but I can't see the audience. So I'm going to assume that most people on the phone are working in some capacity. And we went from, I just need to pay the bills, which is significant, and I'll do anything to pay the bills, to this kind of right sizing and level setting. And now it's, what do I want to do? What lights me up, and what needs to be happening in order for me to thrive at work? And one of the tools, one of the first things that I do, and one of the tools that I recommend, is to really sit with yourself and to sit quietly with yourself. And I know you'll love this, Lenoir, because this is right up your alley. To sit quietly with yourself and really think about, not what job do I want, not I want to be in sales, I want to be a meeting planner, I want to be an event planner. What is it about those roles that attracts you to those roles? So for example, if you're a meeting planner and we're on the Travel and Meeting Society, what is it that you love about that? Do you love the detail? Do you love that every day is dynamic? Do you love seeing this project come to fruition? Do you love the feeling you get when your client looks around the room and you have so much pride in that? So what is it? It's not tables and chairs. It's not heads and beds. What is it about those roles that makes you happy? And then you think about, okay, is that, or would that be present in this role that I'm currently in, or the role that I'm seeking?
Yeah. So I think mindfulness is what we're talking about here also. So it's very important. So some of the tools that I give to my clients is, have a few times a day to just sit down and think about what your day is going to be like. And you may have some very mundane tasks that you do during the course of your day, but does that really make you unhappy? Or is it just part of your job function, right? So sit down and think about, like, maybe take a few minutes to take a few breaths in the morning every day and think about, what it is that makes you smile during your day. Like, understand find your purpose. In other words, like, what is my purpose in this role? Am I fulfilling my purpose in this role? And then I have a gratitude practice, so I'm going to pass it along to help you get better in your day. Think about all the things that you have that you should be grateful for in your job. Now, if you don't have a lot of those, that's a whole nother story. If you can't think about at least 5 things that you're grateful for in the position that you're sitting in, maybe it's time to think about, what exactly is it that I want? Because
I think that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. So sometimes we take these jobs thinking that it's the one we want, and we're going to get into this a little bit more as we go along. But a lot of us say, oh yeah, like, I'm a director now, so I want to go to a VP level. Well, what is it about that VP level that you really like? What are the things that go along with that position that could have an impact on your personal life that may inhibit you from performing at your optimum, at your best? So how do you feel about that, Nancy?
I think that there's a couple things that I wrote down, and your last comment about the VP position reminded me of a conversation I had with somebody. It was probably 15 years ago, and I was working for a very large company, and we were all, next, director, senior director, vice president, senior vice president. And the person that I talked to, I'll never forget, his confidence was unbelievable. We were at headquarters, and he was a senior director. I said, so when are you going to be a VP? And he said, I have no interest in being a VP. And I said, well, what do you mean everybody wants to be a VP? And he said, I don't know anybody in this company that's a VP that's happy.
Isn't that
something? I was like,
something?
wow. And I really took a step back and thought about that. Here's somebody who was confident in what he was doing, loved what he was doing, and said, I don't want that grind. I have a family. I have my priorities. Right. He was very athletic. He had a training regimen. And I remember I was blown away. And it was actually probably like 20 years ago, that you could actually choose that, and that you don't always have to be what's next. So that reminded me of that. And then you mentioned purpose, and I want to tie this back to Gail's question about some of the tools that we have. So when you talk about purpose, I love that. And I left a corporate career to step into my purpose. For me, purpose means, what are my strengths and what am I good at and what do I love to do? So your strengths reflect what you love to do. Because you love to do them, you keep doing them and you get better and better and better at it. So then it becomes a strength. And then you become better at it, you continue to do it, and you start to really step into those strengths. So that strength is, to me, almost the same as purpose, or very close. So what I have for anybody on my website, I think you just join my email list and you'll get it. It's one of the first emails you get, is this power positioning template. And it really helps you, and I mentioned it on the last call, I think, step into what is it that I love to do. And once you work through that, you can then position yourself to find a role where that's what you're doing, or that's mostly what you're doing all day. So what do I love to do? Because if you love to do it, you do it a lot. If you do it a lot, you're probably passionate about it, which ties back to your purpose. And because I love to do that, let me now go use that to go find and land a job where that's what I can be doing most of the time. Yeah. So if anybody's interested in that, you just go to nancymadoff.com. It's free. You sign up for my list, and it's one of the tools that's included in the series that you'll then get.
Yeah, I think that's great. And on that same note, I think it's very important also for us to be able to understand the difference between what's driving us. Is it our ego driving us? Or is it our actual purpose? Because so many times, and not that I'm picking on any specific genre here, but, when we're younger, myself included, my thing was, I want to be a director. I want to be a VP. I want to, I had, and that ladder, right? So we all had that vision of that ladder. And the more I thought about it, the more I said to myself, well, wait a minute, like, why do I want this? I'm a single mom. I have a home life that I have to take care of. If I'm a VP, I'm going to be on my phone like 24 hours a day. So, or at least that's what I thought, because that was before I knew what boundaries were. But in any case, there is definitely a lot more responsibility. And I'll tell you very quickly also, even now, with my background, with my experience, I was being questioned as to why I didn't want to go into a leadership position now. And are you going to be satisfied as an individual contributor coming back into the corporate world?
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's exactly what I want. I do not want a leadership position. It doesn't fit my lifestyle, my personal goals. It doesn't help my work-life balance. So I am not interested in that full-time position. And a lot of people said to me, like, you know, why are you taking a step back? Like, you're taking steps backwards. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm actually taking steps forward so that my life is fulfilled on every level. And in our audience, you know, that's something that you need to think about. So, you know, getting boundaries for yourself and understanding how your life incorporates with the job you're looking at is critical. And I think that a lot of us learned that during the pandemic, or we should have.
Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree. And you did the work, so you have the clarity and the confidence to say no and to just say, where are my priorities? Where are my values? And I love that you brought up boundaries. It is one of my favorite things to talk about, particularly when I'm coaching a senior level executive. This is C-level executives who cannot manage the boundaries. And I get it. It's hard. I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday who was leading a team outside the US. They're based in New York, up at 5 a.m. on emails so that they can answer their team in Europe, you know, then on emails at 7 p.m. at night. And I'm like, time out. Does your team expect you to be on emails at 5 a.m., which is their 10 a.m.? Or can you say, listen, guys, I have to sleep. Sleep is kind of important to me. So you can always count on me getting back to you by noon your time, which is 7 a.m. my time. 7 a.m. my time, I will start to log on. If it is anything that is urgent, text me. But you will not see me on email before 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or whatever the case may be. And she was blown away. She was like, what do you mean? I can do that? I'm like, yes, you can do that. Yes, you can do that. And tying it back to people who are seeking jobs or looking at companies they might want to work for, I would ask those questions. The question is, tell me a little bit about your company culture. What's the expectation on weekends? How often are people on Teams or text, or what's the preferred communication for after hours? And if they say we don't have a preferred communication for after hours because we don't communicate after hours, again, I say this knowing the meeting planning industry is a little different, many meeting planners, and in that industry, we have to be available 24/7. But I remember I left a job and went to a different role, and I didn't get emails on the weekends anymore. And I was like, what? I don't understand. I don't know. What do you mean? And it was unbelievable. And that was because the leader in that organization would not compromise his boundaries. And we can get into the male-female difference in a minute, but he put a stake in the ground and said, absolutely not. I have children, I have a wife, I have a family. We're not saving lives, and you won't hear from me on the weekends. It blew me away, and it changed my life. It changed my life.
Yeah. I would go so far as, and I do this during the interview process, I will always, whether I was in a leadership role or an individual contributor, I would always ask the question of the person that I'm communicating with before I got hired. I'd like to set expectations within my role. I set expectations. I do not answer emails after 8 o'clock. And I say 8 o'clock at night because in case I'm on the West Coast, right? So we all do that because we're in travel. I set my boundaries right from the beginning. And I say, are my boundaries acceptable to you if in fact I accept this position? Because once you get in the position and they start emailing you at 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, expecting a return, then you say, well, that's not kind of what we agreed on. Now, are there exceptions to the rule? And I will also make that very clear. The one exception to my boundary is that if I am working on an RFP or if I am working on something, then, yes, I will go ahead and accept those calls because it's part of my job. I'm not a 9-to-5 worker. So I will go ahead and do that. But I think setting the expectations prior to accepting a position is critical as well.
I agree. And I want to address Michelle's comment in the chat. It was about that others can't see taking a step back as they see it as demoting themselves. And I'll never forget this. And Lenoir, you use the example, so feel free to jump in. But several years ago, probably 30 years ago, maybe 25, I hired a coach because a business coach, an executive coach, because I knew that something wasn't feeling right for me at work. And I'll never forget two things she said to me. She was outstanding. And this was before, coaches were everywhere. She said two things to me. One was, you're not used to not looking for what's next. You're not used to, I got to go for this one. I got to go for this one. I got to go for that one. I got to go for this one. Because these jobs were coming around and I wasn't interested. I was like, I don't think I want to do that. And that's not really that interesting to me. She said, you are way out of your comfort zone, because for 20 years, it has been what's next, what's next, what's next. And you will get to the point in your career where that is simply not as important. You have other priorities. So that was the first thing she said that was brilliant. And then the other thing she said, when together we developed how I would leave this wonderful job, she said, and I'll never forget, it's not a divorce, it's a graduation. You're not divorcing these people. You are moving on to what's best for you and what's next for you. And, Michelle, my answer to the comment in your chat is, it's okay to coast for a little while. It's okay to enjoy what you're doing and figure out what's next. It's not about, it is, you get to a point that it is no longer about climbing the ladder and more about, am I going to do a ladder or am I going to do a jungle gym? Or am I going to sit on the swing set and enjoy where I am because I worked damn hard to get here? And I want to just pause for a minute, especially after everything we've all been through. So that's, what I would say to that. And looking at, is this company a cultural fit? Am I going to be able to prioritize my personal life? We have a pass right now. Everybody is talking about mental health. Everybody is talking about mental health at work. So the work that Lenoir does that was previously might have been considered a little woo-woo, it's mainstream now. Yeah. So this is the opportunity to really figure out what you want to do and make sure that what you're doing is aligned with all of your values.
Yeah. So, when going for that next position or thinking about the next move or where do I want to go from here? The one thing I do want to say also is that you have permission to change your mind when it comes to your priorities. When you're 20 and you're just starting with a family and, you may want to be a VP, but at the same time, you can't. And I use the VP. I mean, I use that. I'm just using that as an example. But, yes, I want to go to the next position, but you can't because you have children and it's going to prohibit you. Well, something's going to drop, right? Because those are two huge responsibilities and you can't have two huge responsibilities and something not lose along the way. But when you come out and now your children are maybe in junior high school and high school and they're a little bit more independent, your priorities will change. Therefore, your wants, needs, and desires may change as well. So what I recommend to a lot of my clients when they're going through these changes, I think it's very important that you sit down, and I know as corny as it sounds, like woo-woo as it sounds or whatever, sit down and make yourself a personal goal list and also a professional goal list and put them side by side and then combine them. And I think that it would help you, again, it will help you to determine what's your best fit. Now, I just really want to stress that things change and it's okay to change your path. We come to forks in the roads throughout our entire life. That doesn't mean that we have to forge our way to go straight because that's what we think is the right way. Choose it. Be brave, be courageous, choose another path. And it does take courage. Maybe we should do another poll. What do you think?
I think we should, but in the meantime, if I can just do one thing, because this really, what you just said really resonated with me, and it was about personal goals and professional goals. So this is my daily journal. I'm gonna hold it up right now. Okay, I made this. This is my little vision board that I love that I made in PowerPoint. Wasn't even Canva. This is for March, right? So every day I have this practice, thanks to my friend Lenoir, where before I start my day, I sit down and journal. Some people can do it, some people can't. Fine. And in my journal, every day is what is my main personal priority today, and what's one thing I can do to get me closer to that, and what is my main professional priority today, and what can get me closer to that. It did not start like that. It started with what do I need? What are my professional goals today? What do I need to get done? And it was only after the past 12 months or so that I've been like, hang on, I am putting my personal needs in at least level with my professional needs. And sometimes I'll focus on both, sometimes I'll focus on one or the other, but the awareness is there that I need it all to be tied together.
You know, Nancy, if I can, I just want to make a suggestion to add one little thing to your journal moving forward.
It's probably already there, but go ahead.
Today I am grateful for.
Girl, right here.
All right.
Three things I'm grateful for, right there. Yep.
Perfect.
And then sometimes I'll actually do a little gratitude rant on the back page. Like if I'm having a really bad day, you know, meanwhile, I do this at 5:30 in the morning. So if I'm waking up and I'm not feeling grateful, then I'll do a little gratitude rant. And I'll be like, okay, just tune it out for 2 minutes and list everything you're grateful for.
Doesn't it make you feel better?
Oh, you know.
It just turns your whole
yeah.
internal dialogue around.
Yeah, you know, especially people in the hospitality industry, because this industry isn't what it used to be. It's very difficult. Labor is a huge issue. People are grinding. I mean, I get so many calls and emails from people that are like, I need to leave this industry. And, you know, either do or don't, that's up to you, but you can manage it. You can manage the grind if you give yourself time and grace.
Yep. So let's go with that poll.
Okay.
Whoops. That's the same question. Can we go to the next one, please?
Yeah, so while we're doing that,
yeah.
So while we're doing that, a couple of comments in the chat. So, you know, both Ruth and Mark, sorry. So Mark, because you introduced yourself as Stevens with a V, now I want to call you Steven. The shift in mindset about really, you're in the driver's seat right now. What is going to light you up? Because, you know, if you think about what lights you up, you are being authentic. And when you are authentic, you will have clarity and you will be fulfilled at work. And that's what it's all about. The grind is over.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, this is interesting. So it's really, really uplifting to see that everyone has invested their time and resource, or a lot of people, most people have invested time and resources into leveling up your career. Nancy, you talk a lot about this, you know, what have you done during the pandemic? And, you know, those of us that sat around, and I'm included in that, in the first few months, like trying to figure stuff out. And Netflix was my friend. I'm not going to lie. Netflix and cookies were my friend. Talk to me a little bit about that, Nancy. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, what, you know, people can't get a job, you know, it's all the online resumes and all the filling out job postings and all that stuff. What could we talk about that?
Yeah, I think this is another tool, and I think it might be in my nurture series if anybody wants to get it, or shoot me an email on LinkedIn, I'll send it to you. So because the world has come back alive, you need, everybody who's looking for a job needs to network like a ninja. And I mean strategic networking. If you are sending out your emails, your resumes on Indeed or wherever, or I call it the spaghetti approach, that's not going to work. That is not going to work. You might get lucky. Now you might get lucky, and out of 500 resumes. I talked to one recruiter who sees 500 resumes for every job. This was recently in the hospitality industry. Yours might pop. What I would recommend you spend your time doing instead is sit down and strategically think about, who do I know? Where are they? How can they help me? Would they hire me? Would they connect me? Would they recommend me? And I mean a spreadsheet. It is a spreadsheet. I used this many, many years ago, and then I keep adapting it for my clients. What's their role? Are they a coach? Are they a connector? Are they a hiring manager? When was the last time I talked to them? Where are they located? So if you are working and you're traveling for work and you go to different cities, oh, I'm going to be in Chicago. I think I'll talk to Mary Louise and Tom when I'm in Chicago, and make sure that I'm in touch with them, so that the first time they hear from me isn't for a favor. So I would say to really leverage your network. In this industry is like no other, in that we are family and we go way back and we spread the globe. We are all over the place. So if you do a data dump and just at 20 minutes every Friday, I'm going to data dump all the people I know. By the end of a couple Fridays, you're going to have probably a list of about 100 people. and then organize them so that you can systematically and strategically keep in touch with them, let them know what you're looking for. And, you know, just even if it's a quick hello, wanted to let you know I'm still out here, so that it's not, hey, remember me from 5 years ago at the blah, blah, blah conference, I saw a position in your company. You want to be nurturing and developing those relationships now, so that when the job comes available, you already know someone there. That's a huge, huge, huge deal breaker in some of the coaching that I do.
Yeah, you know, Nancy, you gave me that actually when I determined that I was going to start looking for a corporate job. You gave me that advice, and I'm going to say that for like 18 months, all I did was fill out applications and go online and do it, and you know, it was very frustrating for me, and I suffered from not depression, but I suffered from, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And then finally, one day I said to myself, well, wait a minute, remember the conversation you had with Nancy a year and a half ago? Yes, I do. Well, why don't you do what she said? So I reached out to a friend of mine, and 2 weeks later I had a job. I guess I wasn't ready. Like I just, you know, and then there's the ego thing too. So I suffered from it. I'm very aware of ego, I have to say. However, I suffered tremendously from ego because my ego kept telling me, do not bother anybody. You are a bother, right? My internal conversations, which is going to be a great segue, you know, my internal conversations, oh, I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to put anybody out. And then I went with the imposter syndrome, which I had a great podcast on the imposter syndrome come out today. The imposter syndrome of, yeah, nobody's going to want to talk to me anyway. I'm not worth that.
Okay.
And I honestly, because I am so mindful, I very rarely go through that. But during this pandemic, I suffered from that syndrome.
So 2 things I want to jump all over here. First of all, I liked your finger. So what I would say is, think about when people ask you, for everybody on the phone that doesn't want to bother people, which I get, think about how you feel when somebody asks you for help. How does it make you feel? You probably feel great when somebody asks you for help. People want to help. And if you can remember that as you're reaching out to people, I love it when people ask me for help, because wouldn't it be great if I made one phone call and helped Lenoir get a job? Or wouldn't it be great if I could get Ruth's resume in front of a key decision maker at Amazon or whatever? People want to help. And that's what I think people really need to remember. And I have this conversation pretty much daily when I'm talking to people who are strategically networking or networking like ninja. It's, well, I really don't want to bother people. And I have this conversation all the time. People want to help. So just remember that.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it really, you know, I recommend to everybody out there whose ego does get in the way when it comes to stuff like that. If you've not met anybody like that before and you don't understand, maybe you're having those thoughts, you know, just think about what I went through. And had I listened to Nancy a year and a half ago, although I am a firm believer in timing, by the way, but you know, had I listened to Nancy before, I would have had the job that I wanted and needed a lot sooner. So watch your, you know, again, it goes back to watching your internal conversations. It goes back to your ego. Learning what your ego says to you is very important, because a lot of people think about ego as, you know, something that's like, oh, I'm the best person in the world. So everybody thinks, oh, that person's egotistical, but that's not it. So the ego acts as a saboteur to us, if you think about it in our head. And here's some of that woo-woo stuff that Nancy was talking about before. But, you know, we have saboteurs. We do have that angel devil thing going on in our head, each and every one of us, no matter how evolved we are. So what happens is, you know, you have your saboteur saying, you know, oh, no, you're not worthy to ask Nancy for help, even though you've helped Nancy before, or you've helped this one before. Payback is not important. Or not payback, but pay forward is not important. Don't worry about it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then you have the one on this side saying, oh my God, people love to help other people. And I know that in my life, I've helped so many people and I love doing it. And it makes me feel good. So why take that good feeling away from, here goes my finger again. Why take that good feeling away from someone else when it makes you feel good?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And it is, I mean, I'm telling you, and what I would say is, how is the spaghetti approach working for you right now?
Yeah. Wow.
It's not. So, you know, it's like, Same thing with me with prospecting for new clients and new companies for keynotes. Like, no, I don't mean, I'm going to be showing their inbox. I mean, no, you know what? I have a lot of value to add and a lot to bring. And every time I do it, I get a really great response. And I bet if you're strategically networking, every time you ask for something specific, you will get a great response. Hey, I'd be so happy to help. Send me this, do this, blah, 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 right? So something to think about.
Yeah, so we have a little poll also about internal conversations. Are we able to put that one up? You know, if we talk about internal conversations and the effect that it has on our daily lives, I mean, we just gave you one example, but oh, we don't have that. We actually don't have that poll. But anyway, I want you to think about what you say to yourself during the day. You know, do you say self-deprecating things about yourself? You know, it could be as little as, oh my gosh, like my eyes are so swollen today. How horrible is that? You know, but just think about, think about the effect that you have on your life. So I had somebody say to me the other day, oh, I that was just a stupid thing. I'm just stupid for doing something like that. And I had to stop and say, wait a minute. I want you to listen to what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
You told yourself how stupid you were.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we turn that dialogue around and say, you can say a couple of things like my actions could have been a little bit different. Well, I tried it this way and it might have been a good idea at the time, but what if I thought about it that way?
Mm-hmm.
And this internal dialogue is something that mindfulness, sitting down, taking the time to just think about things, taking a few breaths will help you to realize these things that you say to yourself that actually set you back tremendously. Because who's your best friend?
Right. I got some advice. I think it was in a magazine maybe several years ago, and it was about body image, but it applies to everything. And it says, would you speak to your daughter like that? So I have a niece, I have two nieces who are in their, late teens or were in their late teens. And I remember when I would catch myself saying something negative like that, I would say to myself, now, would you say that to Robin? Or would you say that to Cara, my nieces? Now I have a little granddaughter, she's 4.5. And when I find myself with a negative thought during the day, and because I do it all the time, well, that was a bonehead move, right? Would I ever say that to my little Ava? Would I ever say that to her? No, I would not. So why would you beat the crap out of yourself? What? Why do you do that? So it's important, and it's important for clarity and confidence and really just finding your true north. And that is what I am all about. But if you're beating yourself up all the way there, why? Why?
I think we've just been beat up so much, in days gone by. Like, I think that the generations before us were a part of that. But somebody just wrote, it takes time to practice your self-talk, change your self-talk. It really does. But think about it again from the saboteur and sage perspective, right? You have this one side of you that's telling you you're not good enough. You have this one side that's telling you you screwed up, or, you could have done that better. And, could you do things better? Yes, of course. But does that make it wrong? Does that make you lesser of a person? Does that diminish your intellect or your proficiencies in what you're doing? No, it does not. So you got to try to just change the perspective and try to change the inner dialogue and be very aware of it. That's key. Awareness is key. So when you hear yourself telling you, oh my gosh, I screwed that up. It's just the worst thing in the world that could have happened to me. It's going to make me look stupid. No, it's not. Own it. Feel the emotions that you have that go along with it. Understand why you did it. And then at that point, you'll be able to become more aware of your internal dialogue. And like Nancy has that, I don't keep a journal like that during the day. I don't get up in the morning. I don't do that. I do keep a gratitude journal. Yep, that one. However, because I've been practicing this for so long, I do my gratitude and I do my affirmations along with what I'm going to accomplish today. Heal it, feel it, and let it go. I love that. That's like one of the prime things of emotional intelligence, Michelle, thank you so much. So, you know, you got to give yourself permission to feel. You got to give permission yourself to take, to get, to understand and accept and love all the beauty that lies within you, and give yourself permission to make mistakes. Don't judge them. Judgment is the enemy. Whether you're judging someone else's actions, or judging yourself, which is the biggest no-no of all. Judgment is the worst. So be aware of when you're judging. You know, Nancy, somebody asked for a recommendation for some business books. And one of the first books that I'm going to recommend is, I have two, if you don't mind. Can I do that, Nancy?
Sure, I can do two.
I'm going to take one away from you. The first one is Unmute Yourself, Speak Up and Stand Out.
I love that one. I wasn't even going to use that one. That's how out of it I am. That's so funny.
Yeah. So anyway, so I recommend that book to everyone. And then the other one is What Color Is Your Parachute by Richard M. Bowles. That's a fantastic book. Oh, apparently Nancy has it behind her.
I know, I'm looking right now.
She's
Okay.
looking. But these are two of the books that I highly recommend. Nancy?
So I'm going to give one, and this book changed my life. It's called Now Discover Your Strengths. It's by Marcus Buckingham, very old book. There's a Reader's Digest version, which you can go to the high5test.com. What he said, and if you don't follow Marcus Buckingham, he's awesome. But his premise is, instead of trying to fix your weaknesses, step into what you're good at, step into your strengths. And it's a great book to do with a team. You can do it alone. I absolutely loved it. So instead of trying to fix what was wrong with me, after I read that book, I instead dove right into what I'm great at, and I made myself the best at it. So that's one. The other one, of course, is Unmute Yourself and Speak Up to Stand Out, which is on Amazon, Kindle, and soon to be audio. So yeah. Audible. Yeah.
There is another one that I really love, and especially for those that are in management. The other one, and it's a really small, skinny little book, and it's kind of funny title, but it's called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey.
Oh, love it.
I recommend that to all the leaders. So and those who want to go into leadership. But you know what? I don't know about you, Nancy, but I applied a lot of that mentality to even my personal life.
We joke around my house. My husband will say, let's 1 minute manage this. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. So The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey is another great book. And then, of course, you know, with Nancy's book, and you're welcome to join into my podcast as well. So, you know, I hope that everyone has found this, helpful, encouraging. Nancy? Any other adjectives you want to add?
No, I was responding in the chat. No, I think we need to all allow ourselves some grace, and myself included. So that could be, I hate my job. That could be, my kids are making me crazy. You know, everybody is. I've been using the word unhinged quite a bit, because especially, you know, you look at the Oscars, right? That was, and I'm not going to get into that, but that was a good example of somebody whose persona is like this, who lost his mind. We are all under so much pressure. So give yourself some grace, you know, try to make the journey fun as you're trying to find what's next for you. This is your chance to really step into doing what you want to be doing. And you're not going to have, that window is closing, because the grind is coming back. It is coming back. So take this time to really think about what you want to be doing, and then you know, you can take it from there. But grace is the word for me for the rest of this year.
And the one last comment that I would like to give everyone is, don't forget the most important thing ever is that you deserve to be happy and fulfilled in your personal and professional life. You deserve it. And you should tell yourself that every day.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Thank you so much, Mark.
So that's a great thought to end on. Thank you so much. That was really an interesting discussion. And I just got a couple final housekeeping pieces before we close down. So there are many committees, from technology to professional training to marketing, that you can volunteer for and even hold a leadership position if you'd like. So go to our TAMS website if you'd like more information about our organization, ways to volunteer, or to attend another educational program like this. Again, thank you to Lenoir and Nancy. Their contact information will be in the chat if you'd like to follow up and talk with them more about coaching. But for everyone else, thank you for taking the time to join us. We hope it's been helpful for you in this new world of work. So until next time, for everyone here at TAMS, we'll say thank you and bye for now.